Hi, my name's EJ Lane, Program Manager for the Fluent UI team here at Microsoft. And today I want to show you how easy it is for you, your designers, your developers to build great looking, productive, natural looking experiences across all different devices using the Fluent Design System. I'll be joined shortly by Alex Powell, Design Manager for the Teams team, who will also show us how the Teams SDK leverages Fluent to allow developers to build great looking Teams applications as well. You might have heard that Teams has over 145 million active users, and we want to make it as easy as possible for developers to plug into that ecosystem. We also want to show you what else you can build using the Fluent Design System as well. And then at the end, we want to make resources, GitHub links, and all of our open source repos available to you to contribute to. And we'll also have links to our blogs and social media for you to stay up to date. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Fluent Design System, I would describe it to you in one sentence. Fluent is a cross-platform design system backed by code. Now, that's simple, but what does it actually mean? So let's break it down. Fluent is made up of three main components: design, code, and tooling. In the design side, we have the design fundamentals, things like color, spacing, typography. We want to make sure all those are available as part of the Fluent design language. And we also want to make sure that it's available and easy to use for designers in the design toolkit as well. Whether it's Figma or whether it's other toolkits, we want to make sure the designers can create beautiful looking experiences that it's easy to get them in developers' hands. Now on the code side, we want to make sure that the Fluent design language is embodied in all of our UI component libraries, whether you're building for web, Windows, Apple, Android, iOS, macOS. We want to make sure that we have a UI component library that is available for you, meets you where you're at. And we want to make sure that as you're building cross-platform applications as well, the experiences that you're building, both the code as well as the UI, are coherent, meaning that they look natural on each device, but that the code also, you don't have to learn different coding patterns. You're able to follow the same patterns as you're developing your applications across platforms. And lastly, on the tooling side, we want to make sure that the design to code pipeline is easy it's as easy as possible for designers to get updated designs into engineers' hands, and that the efficiency of that design to code pipeline is as efficient as possible. We want to package all this up in central documentation that we're in the process of updating right now, so stay tuned for that. Now, I'm going to hand it off to Alex, and he's going to show us how you can build great Teams applications using the Teams SDK, leveraging Fluent. Take it away, Alex.
Thanks, EJ, and welcome everyone to this on-demand session. So building on the great work that the Fluent UI team have been doing, we've been working hard on the Teams platform side to develop a UX framework that you can use to build rich and engaging apps for the Teams ecosystem. We're aligned with Fluent UI and that integrate deeply into the Teams native client. In this session, I'm going to be walking you through that framework and how you can use it to build your first Fluent UI Teams app. So let's just start with some context. Today, businesses and organizations use the Teams platform to integrate applications and services directly into chats, channels, calls, and meetings, enabling users across their tenant to use the applications they know and love directly in line to the collaboration spaces where they work. By building your app in Teams, you get access to all of the extensible collaboration tools that we provide out of box. Things like meetings extensions, message actions, and apps and chats and channels, as well as a whole host of other extensible collaboration tools. Being multimodal and fully responsive means that if you develop your app for the desktop client, you also get the mobile and tablet experiences for free. Today in the Teams App Store, we have a very rich and varied ecosystem with a diverse range of apps across a wide range of sectors, ranging from education and healthcare to financial services and manufacturing. The apps themselves are also equally as diverse. We have apps for surveys, for polls, for quizzes, all the way through to apps that support dashboards and analytics, through to content streaming. In the last year, we've seen a huge amount of growth in the platform. As EJ mentioned, we now have 145 million daily active users on the Teams client. We've seen an 8-fold increase in the number of daily active users of third-party and line of business apps within Teams, and a doubling in the number of apps available in the Teams App Store. For larger businesses of 1,000 or more users, we've seen a 3-fold increase in that same time period. So let's take a look at some of the technologies that you can use to build apps for Teams today. Starting with SharePoint and SharePoint Web Parts and Power Apps, you can use them to build standalone applications that you can host in iframes directly in line to meetings via meetings extensions, or in chats and channels via tab construct, or in personally scoped apps via personal apps. You can also use Power Automate to build workflow process automation tools that you can embed directly in line to the messaging canvas via message actions. You can also use Power Virtual Agent and the bot framework to leverage natural language processing and conversational AI to create interactive workflows with users that are able to communicate directly with your external services. If you've built your app using web technologies, you can publish that via our iframe construct directly in line to meetings and chats and channels, and also personally scoped apps. And you can use the adaptive card framework, again, to communicate with your external services via a predefined JSON schema and a front-end rendering layer where users can take actions that can read and write to your service. All of this is held together with the Microsoft Graph and all of the data services that come with that. In the middle ring, you can see all of the Teams collaboration capabilities and extensible surfaces that we provide. As already mentioned, you can bring apps into meetings via meetings extensions, or into chats and channels via tabs, or personally scoped apps via personal apps. You can also embed web views in modals via our task module feature, which is great for sequential click-throughs, forms, and surveys. You can also communicate with your external services via connectors and webhooks, with the bot service, and also bring content directly into the messaging canvas via our message extension framework. So let's take a look at how we've been leveraging the Fluent framework in the Teams client today. Earlier this year, we launched the Fluent version of the Teams native client in light and dark theme that you can see here, with updates to the icon system, the app bar, the main canvas area, and also the title bar. In addition, we updated all of the primitive components in the main canvas that you can see here to give a really refreshed look and feel for the Teams client. What we've done on the platform side is to take those components and aggregate them into what we call composite controls and UI layouts that LOB app developers and ISV developers could use to define application solutions for Teams. Here we see a dashboard UI layout with some of our composite components, including the toolbar at the top, which is an aggregation of the find, filter, and primary action of Fluent UI controls. Dashboard tiles you can see are fully responsive down to mobile views and have baked-in reflow logic. You can also embed dashboard cards within these tiles, where you can see the title section, the overflow menus, tab constructs, and also the view details. We also have an extensive data visualization component set that you can embed directly in the div element within the card, and that you can theme to align with your brand colors. You can also embed your app logo in the header to co-brand your app. In addition to dashboards, we've created a number of other UI layouts, including lists, swim lanes, forms, and a whole other set that are in the toolkit that I'm going to show you later. And in the future, we'll be adding to that toolkit with extensible calendars, shift views, and project planning views. So developing this framework, we've tried to look holistically across the full development lifecycle, all the way through the discover and learn experience with updated documentation that I'll talk you through later, learning resources that we're going to publish in the next few months, case studies and customer success stories that, again, I'll give you an example of in a minute. We've also updated the design libraries, which we published in December via Figma, and we'll also be publishing libraries for Sketch and Adobe XD in the future. We have access to the Fluent UI libraries, where you can find the primitive controls. We've also been partnering for the build experience with the Power Platform team and integrating the new control libraries into Power Platform app templates. And we're also converging with the SharePoint and SPFX team on a common control set and working with the adaptive card team on updating the card system to adopt Fluent UI. On the developer experience, we have published an SDK via GitHub, which we published in January that corresponds to the toolkit, an NPM package at npmjs.com that you can import directly into your development environment and use with the new Visual Studio Toolkit update that's available shortly. So with that, I'm going to jump directly into the live demo of the Microsoft Teams UI kit. So here we can see the UI kit cover page where we've got the change log on the right-hand side that gives you the version number and any updates that we've made as part of that version. We also have the introduction page here, which gives you context about the toolkit, how you can use it, with some of our core Teams app design principles at the bottom. We also have additional resources where you can find links to W3C standards, accessibility guidelines for Microsoft, Figma plugins, and inclusive design information from the Microsoft design community. We have information on the grid system that we adopt, which is the 4-pixel grid, with basic usage patterns and overview of how to use the 4-pixel grid. We also have avatars with the different avatar sizes, padding patterns, the icon set that we support, including how to create your own custom icons, and links to the Fluent UI icon libraries and also the Teams icon set, as well as GitHub. For the type ramp, we have all the details that you need for typography, the usage of Seago UI, the font weight, line spacing, and line lengths, and the different usage patterns that we recommend for the type. We also provide extensive information on our color palette. So usage guidelines again, accessibility guidelines of where and when to use certain color sets, our different neutral tones that we use and brand colors for Teams, also our secondary colors, and information about our design tokenization system, and also information on how you can co-brand your app with using the color set. So as part of our component library, we provide themable controls that you can see some examples of here, including the tab selection states, primary actions, drop-down menus, and some of our primitive controls, including check marks and toggles. In terms of applying your brand color, we provide an automated algorithm where you can enter your brand color and it'll generate this color palette for you. And you can apply these different color palette elements to the different control libraries that we support in their different states. We also give information on the secondary color usage, our best practices of when and where to use color, and guidance on accessibility and legibility. We have new information on shape and elevation, which aligns with the Fluent UI design system. So you can see some of the patterns here, including information on elevation and drop shadows, and the usage in different contexts, and how you can actually shape, apply different shape treatments to button styles like this. And then for copying content, we have information on the tone of voice for Teams, including punctuation, capitalization, and various voice principles. So jumping into this basic UI component set, this is really a quick reference guide of our UI primitives that are taken directly from the Fluent UI component set and that are Teams themed. So here we have information on buttons as an example with the sizes, styles, states, and types, and then a whole host of other primitive controls, including input boxes, scroll bars, checkboxes, drop downs, and pivots. And we have more complex controls down here, including pickers that you might want to use, dialogues, cards, and a whole host of other controls. On their own, these basic UI components aren't that useful when you're thinking about how these actually live together when you're building an app. So what we've done is to create a complete set of app capability guidelines for all of the different extensible surfaces that we provide throughout Teams. So this includes apps and personal apps, which are iframes. So here you can see information on the anatomy of the iframe construct, the different layouts that we support and recommend within the iframe. Also best practices, including the first run experience. the usage patterns of how you add a personal app, the anatomy of the toolbar and overflow menus, the priority ordering within the personal app and the tab hierarchy, and then the actual anatomy of the in-canvas experience as well, including the toolbar section, the navigation section here, and also how this is responsive, all of the reflow logic that we provide, and information on best practices, including sample apps that you can download. So beyond the app capabilities for personal apps, we've also done the same for tabs, for bots, adaptive cards and task modules that you can go through in your own time. In addition to this, we've also provided pre-canned UI templates. So these are based on the most commonly used controls that we found across our application ecosystem. So list is one of our most commonly used controls. We have information here on the responsive behaviors, on the anatomy of the list item, on the theming, so how to apply light and dark themes, and on the individual behaviors, so things like multi-select states, default actions, overflow menus, filtering with multi-select, zero states, find behaviors, etc. So it's a really detailed, comprehensive guide, best practices, responsive behaviors, and we've done this for all of the different elements here. Here you can see, for example, the data visualization library, which is a very comprehensive set with the dashboard card layouts that we support, how to embed your data visualization object within the div element within the card, the list item that you can actually append to the data visualization object, some examples of the usage patterns, and then the actual chart objects themselves. So here we can see the donut chart, pie chart, and we have these available in light theme, dark theme, and high contrast mode. And then just more charts here, so line charts, area charts, stacked area charts, and a whole host of other data visualization objects. So that is the UI control library in the toolkit. So now I'm going to jump into the actual SDK storybook that we have. So this is the control library published in GitHub. Here you can see as an example the dashboard card elements of the toolbar and some of the different data visualization objects we support, some of the behaviors here. These are all accessible so that you can tab through them. You can see meta information as you actually hover over the different line items here. They're fully responsive as well, so you can scale each of these objects down into mobile views. And then you can see here that we have another example of the list control, which shows the multi-select state. This again is also fully responsive. We have all the primary actions at the top, the filter control and behaviors there, and also the find control and how you can use that. So we're going to have a live code demo, so I'm not going to go into too much more detail there. And then the other item that I wanted to cover is the updated documentation. So here, if you come to docs.microsoft.com, Teams developer documentation portal, click on this Design Your App view, and you can see here that we have a whole section on designing your app, which really maps back to the UX toolkit that I showcased, including an overview of the design principles, how to create cohesive experiences, links to the Fluent UI component libraries, templates, and a description of the app capabilities. And then just drilling down into some of the capabilities here, we give a lot of information about how to build a personal app. Again, the anatomy of the personal app, designing with the UI templates that we provide within the personal app context, embedding bots in personal apps, personal app management. And we've done this for all of the different app capabilities that we support. So I'd recommend coming to the site, having a look around, and exploring how you can get up and running with developing your first Fluent UI app. So now that we've seen some of the toolkits and component libraries that we've created, let's take a look at a live demo with Paul Gilday, who's an engineer from the Fluent team, who's going to show us how all of these different components and control libraries come together with the team's Visual Studio Toolkit.
Today, I'm going to show you how easy it is to build a Teams app using the new Teams Toolkit VS Code extension, as well as the Teams UI component library. And so the first thing I've done is I've already installed the extension, and the goal of this extension is to jumpstart your developer experience so that you can F5 into a Teams app as quickly as possible. And that's what I've done. I've created a new project, I've hit F5, and I'm presented with this wonderful Hello World experience with a bunch of sample code that already starts to integrate with the Teams SDK. And so we're going to start here. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start to integrate some UX experiences coming out of the Teams UI component library. So let's do that. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to remove this sample code that's provided for me. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a communication component. And I'm going to give this component a little bit of configuration. And what this component is this gives me a UX experience. It's sort of a landing page for my application. And by default, it already comes pre-baked with some images, some buttons, with some sample text. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to edit some of this to make this a little bit more customized for my experience. And I'm going to hit save here, and I'm just going to explain what I did there. And so I've updated the title, I've grabbed my username from the Teams SDK, updated the description, and I've changed the how many buttons that I have for this experience. And so if I click Learn More, you can see that I'm automatically launching a URL to the GitHub repository for the Teams UI component library. So if you want to go learn more, I highly recommend going to that repo and starting to get involved in the community there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close that up, and the next thing we're going to do is go to our new dashboard experience. Okay, I'm going to switch over to my dashboard tab and the source code. And the Teams UI component library provides a dashboard component that gives me a wonderful user experience that feels right at home at Teams. And all I need to do is provide the dashboard component with some backing data. And so what I'm going to do here is I have just sort of one widget that's showing on the screen. I'm going to copy and paste to create a bunch of other widgets. And I'm also going to change the size of these widgets. And it'll become clear why I'm doing that. So I'll create, oops, sorry about that. I'll create a series of widgets with a bunch of different sizes. And the beautiful thing about the dashboard component is that it manages the layout space for all of those widgets so that as I resize the browser, it will do the right thing and have that responsive design built right into it. And I didn't have to write any code. All I needed to do was provide some backing data, which is really nice. So next thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to add some more complex widgets to this dashboard experience with some data visualizations and some charts. And so I'll just hit save here, and you can see I've updated those blank widgets with some charting data. And the cool thing about these charts is not only are they pretty comprehensive in that we have line charts, we have donut charts and bar charts, all those great charts, is that these charts respond to, these charts are themable. And so all I'm going to do here is I'm going to simulate a theme change, and I'm going to change the theme that's being provided to the dashboard component. I'm going to put it into dark mode. And you can see all of those charts are themed to be cohesive with the dark mode experience, as well as providing a high contrast experience to be inclusive for users that may need more visual contrast for their experiences. So there you go. So that was a quick lap around what we have in the Teams UI component library and the Teams Toolkit VS Code extension. So there you go.
Thanks for that, Paul. So now we're going to take a look at a real-world example of how one of our customers, Accenture, is using these component libraries to build a line of business application solution called Manage My Business. So with that, I'm going to hand over to the Accenture team who are going to talk us through it.
I'm Jason Warnke, and I lead digital experience inside of Accenture's IT organization. I'm joined here today by Shane Marshall, who looks after all the applications inside of IT that serve our client teams and allow them to serve our clients. I was the sponsor of the Teams journey and our Teams as a platform experience, and we've been working to bring more experiences and lessen the cognitive load of our users as they go about their work every day. It's sort of getting rid of that swivel chair from application to application, bringing services right to where teams are working, which is in Teams. And we thought the best place for us to bring a reimagined experience from the core, and not just the Teams apps and bots and extensions, but actually reimagine an application from the ground up inside of Teams in the space that Shane looks after. So Shane, tell us a little bit about what your team is doing to deliver on this vision of Teams as a platform.
Thanks, Jason. And first off, I wanted to thank you for being a sponsor and champion for Microsoft Teams and Teams as a platform within Accenture and CIO. We're now starting to see the power and value of using Teams other than just a collaboration hub. A great example, my teams, my IT teams are responsible for everything that we need to do to manage, sell, and deliver our business for our clients. Specifically, one app that we're talking about with Microsoft Teams is called Manage My Business. It's a management review board with active dynamic data that summarizes the different book of businesses that we have across the globe. It can be filtered, it can be looked at, it drilled in, but it's in a web application. And the web application begs for collaboration as these leaders manage their teams. We thought, no better place to start than actually pull those experiences, those data sets natively within Teams, allow people to interact, collaborate, whether it's in a chat, whether it's in a meeting, on the data that they need to manage and review their book of business, not totally skipping over the need to text or ping or someone, managed live in the collaboration hub, your book of business.
The thing that's magical and different about this is that instead of what we've done in the past is brought a web application into a tab or into an extension, and it actually did look and feel like a different application, even though you were in Teams. The thing that's different here is actually using the Fluent UI, the user experience that people are used to with the core features of Teams, to then extend that into a business application. So that's what I think, giving everyone the big ideas of, wow, we could do this and this and this, now that it feels like, and it just acts like Teams natively. So that's, I think, a really special part about this. We're very excited to see where you go next in your portfolio and bringing all of this Teams as a platform to Accenture's people. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we've seen some of the context from the Accenture team. Let's take a double click on the app itself. Here we can see in the consultant view that the consultants received a notification from the MMB app telling them their sales forecast is dipping below their threshold numbers. This is leveraging the activity feed API. Here, the consultant clicks on the notification and they're deep linked directly into the Manage My Business personal app, which you can see pre-pinned here on the app bar. Looking at the app, we can see that the Manage My Business app leverages a lot of the Fluent UI native controls that we've developed, including the toolbar at the top with the hamburger menu, primary actions, and filter. We've also used the dashboard tiles in the main canvas area, which have been custom for the MMB requirements. And here you can see that the sales tile is contextually highlighted based on the sub-entity ID that has come directly from the notification. In this instance, the consultant wants to share this information with their wider team. So they click on the overflow menu and click on Share to a Channel. Here we open a task module where the user can use the people picker control to select the channel, chat, or people that they want to share with. They can optionally add a message in the form control and then share it with the broader audience. Here, the card appears as an adaptive card directly in line to the channel. The user can optionally view the MMB board that the card came from, which then deep links them back into the Manage My Business app, again, leveraging the sub-entity ID. In line to the channel, the consultant now wants to send a new board into the conversation using the Manage My Business messages extension, which they can access through the Compose bar. They click on the Accenture icon at the bottom, which opens the message extension flyout. They can optionally search for a board in here, or they can view a list of the most recently used boards in the message extension below. They click on the top board, which then shares the card into the Compose bar, and they can optionally share that into the chat. Here we can see the adaptive card embedded with the data objects. The user can now use the message action from the message overflow to create a new task. Here in the Create a Task view, we have a task module which showcases the form control that we have, where the user can assign the task to a particular user, enter information about the project, and then share it directly into the Team Tasks LOB app. Here you can see again that we've leveraged the Fluent UI composite control, where you can see the toolbar, the navigation breadcrumb, the primary actions, and all of the different composite controls within the main canvas area. You can leverage sub-entity chat in the channel tab as well to have a conversation that's specific to the task board. Here you can see that the adaptive card is in a narrow view in the right rail, and they can have a conversation about the content that's being showed. Now, the consultant wants to have a conversation about the data that's being shared directly in line to a meeting. In the Create Meeting view, they can add the MMB app. They can select the app from the app flyout here, select which boards they're interested in, and then save the view. Here we can see that the MMB app has been pre-pinned as a tab, where you can see all of the content directly in line, and the consultant can go through, make updates, and edit the view so that it's suitable for the meeting. When they join the meeting, we see in the right pane that the MMB app has been pinned. They can view the content in the pane, interact with it, and share it onto the meeting stage so that everyone else on the call can see it. Here, in the near future, we're going to be releasing an interactive version of this view, where all the users on the call can participate with a dashboard and manipulate the data in real time. So let's just recap what we saw with Accenture today and the value that Fluent brings to the Accenture MMB app. We saw coherent UX that looks and feels native to the team's client experience and that is intuitive for users to use. It's incredibly easy to customize and deploy, being based on pre-canned components and a complete SDK that we provide for you out of box. It's also deeply integrated into all the collaboration tools and features that come with the team's native client, and it really enables high-value productivity solutions where teams can collaborate universally across the tenant. So now we've taken a look at the Accenture LOB app. Let's take a look at some Power App Teams templates that we've been working on with the Power Apps team that you can use inline to the Power Apps Studio today. This is the Boards Power App that enables organizations to pin and aggregate content from various different chats and channels in a single view. Here again, you can see the Fluent UI composite toolbar control at the top with the avatar and the Fluent UI cards in line to the main canvas area. Because we've designed everything fully responsibly, you can see in the mobile view on the right-hand side that the toolbar scales down so it makes sense for mobile, and that the main canvas area is in narrow view with the horizontal scrolling cards. Here is an employee ideas Power App where you can review, submit, and manage employee ideas. And here again, we use the toolbar composite control. We have the Fluent UI table element embedded in the cards at the top. And then we have the hero Fluent UI cards at the bottom that show the active campaigns. In the mobile view, you can see the L2 view where a user has actually drilled down on one of these cards. And the breadcrumb is built in the toolbar at the top. And you can see again how the cards scale down to the narrow view. This is the Milestones app, which is a project planning app. On the left-hand side, you can see the hamburger menu with the navigation tools built in, with the Find Project search at the top, Create New Project, primary action, and also the Fluent UI table object in the main canvas area. This again scales down to mobile view because it's all been built using controls from the Fluent UI library. It's easy to update into dark theme. So again, what we saw here was the value of coherent UX and a native look and feel that's intuitive. These are all pre-canned low-code solutions, so have an incredibly low code overhead, and they really, again, enable high-value productivity solutions and collaboration across your organization. So just to summarize about what we learned today, starting with the learn experience, we introduced you to the developer documentation, the Figma UX Toolkit guidelines that you can use as a reference library, and we also provide GitHub documentation. On the design side, we showcase the component libraries in Figma that will shortly release in Sketch and Adobe XD, the Fluent UI primitives that are available today, and how you can theme your app and apply brand expression. We also learned how you can build the app using the UX SDK and sample app libraries, and how this all comes together in the Visual Studio Teams Toolkit. Also, how you can use low-code, no-code solutions directly in line to Power Platform, and the different templates and components that we support there. So with that, I'm going to hand over to EJ, who's going to talk you through an update on the Fluent UI design system.
All right, thank you, Alex, for showing us all that. It's great to see the progress that the Teams SDK has made so much of this available to developers and to designers for both high code and low code solutions. So now I'm going to spend a couple minutes showing you what else you can do with the Fluent UI design system. At a high level, we want to show you all the different endpoints that Fluent UI component libraries exist on, to show you where developers and designers can make great looking applications and experiences to target the different endpoints. We were going to quickly walk through what's available on web, Windows, iOS, macOS, and Android. So we're going to start off on web. And on the web, we recently had a Fluent UI React V8 release, which has been well received and used by thousands of developers around the world. But now we're working on the next release and we're looking for feedback. So we want to introduce the vNext Alpha, and we want to tell you what we're targeting and what you'll get with Fluent UI in vNext. Similar to what Alex talked about with the customizability, performance, bundle size, accessibility, design to code, we want to make sure that all these are available and that you have out of the box Fluent designed components available to you that meet all the needs of both developers and designers, as well as meeting the needs of folks who need accessible solutions. And finally, on design to code, we want to make sure that those components we make available to you stay current and stay up to date with design updates via design tokens, which we'll talk about more soon. So we're looking for early community feedback on this alpha, so you can go check it out. For more information, you can find us on our open source repo at github.com/Microsoft/FluentUI. Next, we want to introduce you to Fluent UI web components. Now, web components are custom HTML elements that are, again, Fluent styled out of the box. And whether you're using them just in HTML and CSS, or whether you're using them with an underlying JavaScript framework, you can do either one. It doesn't require an underlying JavaScript framework, but you can integrate with any of the major frameworks like Angular, React, Blazor, etc. Performance is, again, another strong consideration for us. We want to make sure that we have great render performance as well as good bundle size so that you don't bloat the size of your application. Again, want to make sure that components are accessible out of the box, saving you the work, making sure your applications are used by as many people as possible. And finally, we want to make sure that we have adaptive UI that looks great on every platform, and also UI that can stay up to date, that's customizable and works for all your scenarios. For more information, you can find us again on our open source repo, github.com/Microsoft/FluentUI, or you can find us on the adaptive web components link as well. Next up, we have WinUI, and we want to say a couple things about WinUI 3 and what was released in March as part of the Project Reunion announcement. We have WinUI updates that are coming for both WinUI 3 as well as new controls coming for WinUI 2.6. So whether you're a WinUI 2 or WinUI 3 user, we have updates coming out with these new controls. For more information on this, you can learn more on aka.ms/WinUI. Up next, we have Fluent UI for Android. On Android, we have a couple new controls coming out. We have FacePal, FaceStack. We also have controls that are optimized for the Surface Duo and for dual screen devices. We want to make sure that the controls that we create look great on any device that you want to use them on. We also have accessibility improvements that we've made across all the components. Again, making sure that these controls work great with the native talkback capabilities that come on Android devices, as well as Bluetooth keyboard support. For more information on this, you can again go to our open source repo at github.com/Microsoft/FluentUI Android. Next, we want to talk about our Fluent UI Apple repo on GitHub. Fluent UI Apple has both iOS and macOS controls in it. So we have new iOS controls, again, FaceStack and FacePile, similar to what was released on Android. We want to make sure that we keep parity as much as possible there. We've also released controls that are look better on iPad and look better on large screens. We don't want the controls that just stretch unnecessarily. We want to make sure that we're using the screen real estate as efficiently as possible. We want to make that as easy as possible for developers as well. New controls on macOS as well, like button, link, and separator. And for both iOS and macOS, we've improved our CocoaPod consumption story so that you can just get the controls that you need. And again, you don't have to bloat your app with controls that you don't need. For more information on this, you can find us on our GitHub, github.com/Microsoft/FluentUI-Apple. And lastly, we want to talk about one implementation of Fluent UI with adaptive cards. Adaptive cards are an easy way to put interactable card elements in your UI across a bunch of different platforms. And here is an example of just showing you how easy it is to get adaptive cards into your application with just a quick npm install of adaptive cards-Fluent UI and this quick code sample. For more information, again, you can follow the adaptive cards link at the bottom, adaptivecards.io, and see how easy it is to get started using adaptive cards. So to wrap up, if you take anything away from this, we want to make it obvious that you can build great Teams applications. You can build productive, natural experiences on every device, and you can do it all with Fluent. So we invite you to come build great apps together with us using the Fluent Design System. So here are links to resources, repos across all of what you saw today: the Teams platform, Fluent UI, web components, WinUI, Android, Fluent UI Apple, and adaptive cards. If you're asking, how can you contribute? Well, if you're interested in contributing on the open source, all of our repos are available on open source. We invite you to come join the community. Our repos have over 11,000 GitHub stars, so used by many people. We invite you to come be part of that community. And if you're looking to stay up to date, you can find the links here. You can follow the Teams blog. The link to it is here. You can also follow us on Twitter, where we post updates as well. So with that, thank you for your time, and come join the Fluent community.